Hello, you're watching TVP World Talks. I'm Andrzejewski. Friedrich Merz has officially become Germany's Chancellor after overcoming a setback in the first round of voting, where he fell 6 votes short of majority. In a second vote on Tuesday, he secured the necessary majority with 325 votes. While Merz now leads Germany, his government faces significant challenges, including economic stagnation and rising far-right influence. Joining me now to discuss all this is Piotr Andrzejewski, chief analyst at the Institute for Western Affairs, specializing in German economic policy. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
So, first of all, let's begin with this initial vote. It was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it, given that everyone was considering this to be a mere formality?
Well, actually, this is the first time in the post-war history of the Federal Republic of Germany that such a thing had happened, that after successful coalition talks, that the candidate for Chancellor did not secure his position in the parliament, in the Bundestag. So it was quite a surprise and quite more of a symbolic hit than a real one, but nevertheless, it was politically costly. Why? You have mentioned that it was 6 votes short, but actually, what really happened is that 18 members of the German Parliament either abstained from voting or voted against Friedrich Merz. And now the question is, who done it? Yes, who was responsible for this? And there are 2 hypotheses that I can present here for the viewers of TVP World. One of these hypotheses is that it was the left wing of the Social Democratic Party, the SPD, highly influenced by the youth movement Jusos. They want to have a more left-leaning economical policy, and the new government is more pro-free market, more pro-capitalist. As you mentioned, there are some economical hardships, and Friedrich Merz wants to go the way of the free market. And so this is a signaling that could be potentially signaling that this is not accepted by the part of the Social Democrats. This is one hypothesis. But the other one, a much more credible, in my opinion at least, is that it was within the Christian Democratic Party, the CDU itself. There are several groups that might show discontent from how Friedrich Merz has created the new government. Many of the new ministers are coming from outside of the outside from the party. They have been taken directly from the free market, from big companies, energy or electronic companies, and some people might have been simply disappointed that they did not secure a nomination after being for such a long time in politics. And of course, there might be still a Merkelist wing. So these people who are still loyal to the ideas and the political way of Angela Merkel. So to sum up, I think that it was simply a warning shot that was fired within the CDU party to show Friedrich Merz that he is not fully in charge, and that he would have to make some serious political concessions to those people who were discontent with how things are going. Nevertheless, Friedrich Merz, for the second time in the recent time, has shown that he has political resolve. He managed to secure the vote on the very same day, which required to amend the rules on how Bundestag operates, and the time schedule and so on. And after changing the constitution, the German constitutions regarding the debt break, now he has quickly shown that there are ways to be effective.
So he has managed to avert the crisis, right? He has managed to avert the crisis.
Yes.
Can we be reasonably sure that the causes of these rifts are economic or personal in nature, that this is not, for example, about foreign policy?
No, I'm pretty sure it's much more personal. It's more personal. Maybe there's some part of ideology, but it's not about the economy. It's not about the economical issues. If it is within the CDU, if it comes from the Social Democrats, of course it's about the economy. Well, we don't know who voted because, of course, the voting was... they were voting in secret, so nobody knows who exactly that was. But from my sources, I think that it was coming from the CDU, as the evening before the vote was quite nervous in the CDU, from what I've heard. So this is the most probable scenario. So it's not about the economy; it's more about, I think, personal politics.
So
But what's
Friedrich Merz is
important
traveling.
if
Yes, please do go on.
yeah, exactly. This is what I wanted to go to now. Is that it was very important for Merz to actually proceed as fast as possible and securing his position as chancellor, simply because he has already planned the visits in Paris and in Warsaw.
Precisely. I mean, it's due to take place today. Speaking of which, what do you expect Friedrich Merz to actually do during those visits? Do you think that this also shows the priorities of the new German government when it comes to cooperation within the European Union?
Well, the coalition deal signed between the three parties, the two Christian Democratic and the Social Democrats, emphasizes that the European policy making has to be made in the so-called Weimar Plus format. What does it mean? Weimar Triangle, of course, this is Germany, France, and Poland. But Weimar Plus, it would also include other big economies of the EU. So quite probably Italy, Spain, and quite possibly Sweden. And within this group of states, the policy, internal and foreign, of the EU should be negotiated, should be formed. And this is the vision of Friedrich Merz as chancellor. And of course, seeing that he has nominated Wadephil as the foreign minister, it is quite clear that it will be Friedrich Merz who will be pulling the strings regarding foreign policy, and it will be the office of the German chancellor that will take the lead. So it is something that is quite vital for Friedrich Merz, and he has stated this multiple times during the electoral campaign. He criticized Olaf Scholz for severing ties with both Paris and Warsaw, and now he wants to mend them and create a new dynamic within the EU on both bilateral level and multilateral level.
What is Merz's stance on Donald Trump? How is he planning to engage with the US president? And to what extent do you think that this is going to require a greater unity within the European Union, at least among the major players?
This is actually quite a surprising turn of events, because some months before, I have met some CDU advisors that were trying to convince us here in Poland that Friedrich Merz will do a charm offensive towards the Trump administration, that he has a lot of friends simply because of his work on the financial markets and BlackRock and so on. And he knows directly some people from the personally knows some people from the environment or the close circle of Donald Trump. But this is not what has happened, actually. And Friedrich Merz has presented a much tougher stance towards the US. I think the reason of it is quite obvious: is the new tariff policy of the Trump administration, which Germany is the main target of. So he might try to construct some amicable ties with Donald Trump, but I don't think it will work, simply because there are so many systemic challenges between the US and Germany, or the EU as a whole, that Merz is going to present a more assertive stance towards the US than previously planned.
And how does this relate to the question of NATO spending? The US president has been adamant that NATO countries need to spend more. The Trump administration has actually singled out Poland as an example, since Poland is approaching the 5% threshold. Now, Germany is far below this, obviously, in terms of relation to the GDP and not the actual amounts. But do you think that there might be a place for closer cooperation here, given that Mr. Merz, for example, has emphasized that Germany needs to do more to help Ukraine, and the US has been saying, okay, Europe needs to become more involved in this process, because we're not going to do this forever?
Yeah, Friedrich Merz has presented himself with a more hawkish position on the war on Ukraine, in stark contrast to the former Chancellor Olaf Scholz. So I think the first test will be if Friedrich Merz will decide quickly to deliver the Taurus missiles to Ukraine to help the Ukrainian war effort. And when it comes to financing, well, it was Friedrich Merz that has pushed for an amending of the German constitution. He has changed the debt break, the debt limit for Germany, simply because for the need of more military spending. So 400 billion euros is going to be pumped into the German military sector, either to boost the production of munitions, to boost the production of new military vehicles, and so on, and also to support Ukraine partially. Of course, so there will be change. There will be more spending coming from Germany, and Germany is going to be in bigger debt simply because of that single choice. So we are actually expecting the German GDP ratio to like the 2% threshold, NATO threshold of spending, 2% of GDP, to be not only maintained by Germany but surpassed, especially that the economy is stagnant. So actually, it will be, from a statistical point of view, it will be easier to boost up this statistic.
And one quick question towards the end. We have about 1 minute left. Do you think Chancellor Merz will be able to stop the rise of the far right in Germany? And how will he go about it?
Actually, this is the most difficult task. This is the biggest challenge. We see that the Alternative für Deutschland, the AfD party, in several polls is already ahead of the CDU party, since they're taking the prime pole position in the surveys. And it will be very difficult for them to do so, simply because they are in a coalition with the Social Democrats, who are pushing for a more progressive and pro-migrant stances within the coalition, and they're going to tone down the shift to the right within the CDU, which will give some political fuel to the AfD in the foreseeable future. And even this stumble yesterday, when Merz was not chosen as a chancellor in the first round of the vote, was already celebrated by the AfD, who are showing that there is political instability within the coalition at the very start of it, and they even called for new elections yesterday. But they will continue, probably they will continue to do so in the foreseeable future. So it will be very hard for Merz to stop the rise of the far right in Germany.
Piotr Andrzejewski was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you.
And I'm Jonasz Rewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please do stay with us for more latest news, updates and commentary.